Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Architectural Review Board for the Town of Haymarket, Virginia, according to the best of my ability. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
Where is she?
There's a packet over here, so.
In the packet here.
Not working, Marshawn. Okay. Is John not coming tonight? Okay. All right.
We're 5 minutes late, so let's get this moving. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Lee.
Here.
Day.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Edwards.
Here.
Vimna.
Here.
And the correct pronunciation?
Cavazos. Here. Yes.
And here comes John in the door.
So we will pause. Pick up the pace. Get on up here. And last but not least, here. Okay, before I move on, we got a agenda addition I'd like to put in place. We got another COA zoning permit application to add.
Okay.
All in favor of adding it, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it'll be added as however it fits in, if they're both here or not. Okay, we'll move on to citizens' time. This is time where citizens can get up and discuss any issues they have with the ARB outside of the COA discussions. Any person here for the COAs, they'll have their turn when we do open up the COAs. So do we have anybody that would like to come up? Okay. So we'll move on to agenda item 3, minute approval. This meeting, we have 2 meeting minutes to approve. We'll start with, I guess, the April meeting minutes.
You don't want to do them together? You want to do them separate?
Well, we can do them both. If, the thing is,
Do you have corrections?
was everybody involved in both? Or, see, that's the only problem.
You can still vote.
You can still abstain if,
You can
Okay.
still vote.
I didn't know if you had to abstain if you weren't at the meeting. Okay, we'll put both of them together then.
Make a
You guys-
motion, sorry.
Yeah, if you guys want to take a quick look at it, make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 20th, 2016, and May 18th, 2016.
I second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion on corrections? Okay, then we'll vote on it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any nays or abstains? Okay, record shows that it was a full vote for ayes. Okay, that takes us right to the certificate of appropriateness. Now Denise, you said both parties are here, so we can do them in the order that they came. So I guess first one, here it is. First one is, what's actually,
Mr. Shannon.
First one is the Kiwi Place, wrought iron fence and shed.
here it is. three up here. Is that right?
Let me see.
Oh, okay, yeah. We
It's
still got-
a shed
We
offense.
still got the Blueberry Way one in this packet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Marshall, do you have any?
Actually, I believe in the chairman's packet, I've already approved the application. The only comment I had made was the minimum distance from the eastern property boundary, 5 feet instead of what's 4 shown on
4,
the
okay.
plat, but I've already corrected it on the application. So it meets the relevant zoning ordinance requirements for the R1 zoning district.
Okay. Yeah, I have 2 questions. It looked like, I had an aerial view, so I don't know if it was true or not, but it looked like your neighbor on one of the sides that your fences is going to be on has a fence as well. Are you just going to butt up with their fence?
The neighbor to my left, as you face the house, it's butting up against hers, and then all the way down the back, and on the right side, it would come all the way down. It would not butt up against his. He has a privacy fence. It's already warping on the bottom, in fact. Speaking to him, he's going to probably end up replacing his as well.
Okay, so they're 2 different fences then?
They are, yes, on the right side.
So you're just going to butt up against it, though, and just share his fence line?
No,
or-
sir.
No.
On the wooden fence, I'll be on the inside on my property line.
Okay. Okay, that's the only question I really have.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Question I have, just, it looks like the application talks about a 4-foot black wrought iron fence. The photograph I'm looking at, it looks like an extruded aluminum fence.
Exact same fence. You want to go over here or what?
No,
Yeah, it's referred to as a wrought iron, but it's an aluminum fence. Exact same one that everybody in the HOA has.
right, yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, it's perfectly fine, I just,
You're absolutely correct. It's actually aluminum.
okay.
They just advertise it as wrought iron. I don't know if you can tell by the way it's aluminum.
Yeah, interesting.
Truth in advertising, right?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay.
Good.
I make a motion to approve zoning permit ZP 2016-019 with the only additional comment of the setback being 5 feet instead of 4 feet.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. Anybody? Okay, then we'll put this to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstains? That's good. Have fun.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
New to Haymarket, this is a great experience.
Tell your friends.
Experience because we,
Facebook account, it already
it's an easy experience because you had your paperwork in all together, and that makes our job just as easy and quicker for you. So, thank you. Okay, next, we got the Oso persnickety fabric.
Persnickety.
Correct?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this was an application that was submitted by the business owner earlier this year. We had deferred action on it because the wall sign that they're requesting needed to be, we needed the new sign ordinance to be adopted before it could be approved. They didn't include the hanging sign that's with it. Their prior approvals have required all the tenants to use the bracket, the decorative bracket that's you see along there today. The other DeGrasse studio sign that's there, you approve requiring the brackets. That's an enforcement issue that I'll need to follow up with. The tenant, not knowing that, had asked for a similar concession for hanging it underneath the valance.
Oh, okay.
So the one issue that has come up is the cost. That particular structure, the hanging bracket, is quite expensive, and there were some discussions of having the landowner, the property owner,
Provide that.
cover the cost of that expense. So the immediate need is for the wall sign that they're showing on page 2. That does meet the new sign ordinance. I do think that's going to create an interesting effect along the frontage there, and so we do recommend approval. So tonight, they're not asking for approval of the hanging sign, it's just the wall sign.
Just the wall sign?
Yes, so in your motion, it would be simply for the wall sign as part of the application.
Okay.
Yeah, now I assume, I think this complex has a signage package already. Have you done research on that?
The sign package was only for the hanging brackets.
Yeah, and so that did include the hanging bracket, and that's why it needs to be, I guess,
Correct.
revisited.
So the desire
Okay.
was to have a consistent style of how the signs were presented.
Street face, yeah. Okay.
And the applicant is here this evening to talk to you if you have any questions.
Yeah, I don't know if we do. Anybody?
No?
Yeah, actually, just a question. The proportions of the sign, are fitting right into that brick window. The,
Excuse me, just a second, this is Keith Chandler.
Okay. I'm just curious about the proportions of your sign are just a little shorter than the window as far as fitting into that little bricked-in window. Could you make it taller, or are you right up against your?
It's close. It's 8.5 square feet, which I believe the ordinance is for 12. But you can't go any wider in terms of the design or the size of that. So going taller only created more just blank white space
Okay.
for the logo.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to approve zoning permit COA 2016-016 for Oso Persnickety Fabrics and Threads for the wall sign.
I second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. Okay, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
My wife will be happy.
Mr.
Thank
Chandler
you.
will have the documentation signed, just going to pick it up. Yep.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Hi.
Bye.
And you can still use your apron too.
Conditions on this one. Okay. Agenda item 5, we go to town council update.
Last night, we swore in the new members of the town council, Connor and John Cole were sworn in last night. Yeah, so it's very exciting.
Yeah.
So we'll start that in July. It's coming up.
July 1.
What else, Marchand? Is there any new?
The sheds are being removed at Harover.
Right. And we're moving forward to getting that all cleaned up and moving towards the park.
The council did vote to open up to the community to come take the stone for the old house foundation. So we have posted on Facebook and others, but I think if that doesn't resolve, taking a lot of the material on the site, I think the council will have to look for another way to get the material on the site. And they're also going to grade that top off and grass it. And from talking with you earlier, that they'll put the benches that you approved last month up there as well. Vaughn, the council approved the Harover Master Plan, which is for the park, the two properties that we own on the east end of town.
Is it behind the veterinary clinic? That land?
Yes. It's
Okay.
a little farther east. It's the two houses that set up on the hill.
Oh,
The one that was
okay.
just moved.
Okay, I know where that is.
So there's, right now, they approved the plan. The ARB was heavily involved in putting an input in that plan. We're putting out bids for the engineering of the plan. But one of the earlier decisions was to move one of the houses. Originally, it was going to be moved off-site. The gentleman across the street bought it and moved it over. There's some sheds that they're trying to move. There's some immediate interest in trying to rename the park, putting some benches, making it more inviting. Right now, I think most people don't realize that it's a public park. So there's some short-term things that council's going to be doing to make it more appealing to the
That's
public.
great.
That'd be good.
It's going to be very nice. Yeah.
So
How soon will the public be able to take stones?
Now, you can go
Now.
take
Oh,
one.
okay.
Do you want to take one with you?
I'm taking one with me
Your
tonight.
ability to take them home. There was some discussion of incorporating into the pavilion, but I think in terms of how you hold on to it, how you maintain it, they decided just to go ahead.
And when the fireplace was taken down, it didn't produce really good stone left over, so it was,
It's all shattered on you, right?
well, not on me, but
Deconstruction.
When they
on
tried to say
Mr.
the
Landry,
chimney-
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. They tried to say the chimneys, when they had to lift the house, they weren't physically able to get under the house.
Yeah.
And keep the porch and the thing. Originally, he tried to stockpile the material. When they came in and took out the foundation, a lot of that got commingled. So I still think there's, if someone has the patience to go up and maybe pull some rock aside, we can do that, but the council decision was to move forward with.
I think that the good rock is like way underneath there, so you're going to have to move a lot to get to the good stuff.
Pull your back down there.
I'm just getting one big slab for a marker.
And Mr. Landry's Ice Cream Shop Cookies and Cream, hopefully, is going to open this weekend. We'll see.
Yes.
He doesn't have any power hooked up yet, so he's waiting for,
Is that what the house is now? I was reading.
he's turning it into an
And
ice
is
cream
that
shop.
building next to it, is that stores? Or is that a school?
It used to be a school.
Like last year?
No,
Oh,
like,
okay.
years ago, that was the elementary school for
Okay.
out here. It was Gainesville Elementary, right?
It was
Yeah.
Gainesville District School, which
Right.
at one point was the high school, middle school, and
Right.
elementary school.
And then it turned into Pace West, which is a specialty school in Prince William County. But they built a new school up next to Tyler. So then Mr. Landry bought that and named it QBE. And there's different businesses in there, but there is a preschool, right?
Preschool, yes, ma'am.
In there. And then they also have Frontier, is it Frontier Kitchen? Where people that have catering companies and stuff can come in and use the kitchen to prepare their food. And there's some government contractors that have office space in there.
Good Hope Church uses the gym in the front. So it's
Right.
kind of a
So-
multi-purpose
yes.
building.
And there is a multi-purpose room there that people can rent for things. He
And
rents
the
it.
fields that are there are rented or leased by the Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, Prince William County. So,
Copper Cricket, the council did sign a contract. Copper Cricket is going to move into the building behind.
Where?
Police station has moved here. They're going to have an open house during the Health and Fitness Expo. So you get a chance to go inside and take a look. It's a neat facility.
it is.
So
It'll be really nice once the facade's done on the outside of here.
And do we have any dates as far as when the town structure is going to start? Like when they're going to start work for here?
Well, last night, VML VACO, which is the financing for the state, came and gave us information about what our credit rating was and, how much we could take out in a loan and then what we have on hand. So now we have to have a discussion as to if we're going to do it in phases, how much money we're going to spend, things like that. So hopefully,
Okay.
the engineering is underway. We've already budgeted for the engineering. Once that's done, we've also, you vetted before the facade improvements, which was put before the council. The council gave some additional direction. But yes, it'll just be a matter of CIP money, capital improvement money budgeted.
yep. So hopefully in the near future.
And now that the Jefferson Street Bridge is coming
That's
to
right,
completion,
yes.
how's the purchasing of the land with the Connolly funds and all that to make that a walkway all the way down
Multi-use
to
path?
to the corner? How's that?
You may have seen
how's
some
that coming?
stakes out there along this side of Jefferson Street. RDA, who has a contract for the 66 expansion, also has the contract to do that work. And so I believe they've already approached about getting the right of way. This is a multi-use path from the corner, the 10-foot trail that'll connect to the bridge deck that's up. You see the path is on the side. So that'll hopefully be moving forward in the next couple of months. So
Okay.
That's good.
the challenge will be then is getting from the other side of the
That's
bridge.
where it's here.
So I think that's it, right?
Dominion, most of you know about Dominion Power, and the FCC staff report had mentioned or concluded that there was a clear need, sole need of the power line
By one
to
customer.
support Dominion, or not Dominion, the user. And then the environmental consultant that was hired agreed that the least environmentally impactful route would be the hybrid route bearing the line along the north side of 66.
And that the customer should
Pay for it.
pay for the difference between the regular line and the underground.
That's not the final say. They still have to go to the final hearing by the FCC, but that was seen as something out of the norm that the staff of the FCC would make such a bold statement, or was considered a bold statement. So
Yeah, it's so, I still have my mind wrapped around how the federal government's willing to give grants to the Journey Through Hallowed Ground, to, in Virginia, VDOT's putting in specialty bridges to make this look like a rustic area, and then they're approving something that the power line's going to be sunk along the ground all the way to 66, till right before that, then they're going to put up these big pylons around this bridge. I just don't understand why they spent the money on these bridges if they were going to end up letting the SEC let the Dominion Power do that. I just don't understand it. But
Well, I don't think anybody spoke in favor of them at all the hearings that we went to, so.
yeah. Seems to me it should have been reversed, string it up and then drop it down through the.
Yeah.
So the council did put a motion, or put a resolution together yesterday that supported the FCC staff report findings and the environmental consultant findings.
And that was sent today and received by the SEC, so.
So keep your fingers crossed.
Yep. Also, I see, what is that, on Blight? They're putting in
The houses? No.
the curbing on the corner
yeah.
and improving the corner. That's a nice site.
We've gotten a lot of comments about those houses.
What have you heard? Anything bad?
Mixed reaction.
Well, I'm sure.
I think once the siding's up, once the vegetation takes hold, it'll
It definitely changes the look of the entryway into the town. I mean,
What are they doing with it? I'm sorry.
there were 5 houses, or they built the development behind where the park is going to be,
Haymarket.
the Villages of Haymarket, but they also own those 5 lots, and they wanted to develop them. So we approved the houses to be built, but it just completely changes the look when you come in from that end of town.
Okay.
So,
They're small lots and the most forward lots within 3 feet of the right-of-way. So a lot of people are scratching their heads as to why they're so
Close to
close
the
to the road. But the ARB did a pretty extensive job of talking with them about how to make it look. So you'll notice a lot of elements on the houses match the Hariber House or the Lewis House. They match the Villages Haymarket. They match Haymarket Station across the way. So I think it'll be quite attractive once they.
yes,
Once it goes up.
So,
be nice.
but
Yeah, and it's just an eye shock that people need to get used to. It was like refinishing that building and putting the roof on it. Boy, we had so many people complaining about the color of the roof. But, I think it finally,
Dried. Dry. Is that what you said? So, anyway, that's all for me, I think.
okay. Any questions for Susan? You're off the hook there.
Yay.
Okay, we'll move on to Planning Commission update.
Planning Commission, we forwarded our recommendation for the CIP to the town council. We also held a joint public hearing with the town council on the 6th and approved our sign ordinance. Again, it took some time because legal counsel had made some changes with some recent findings and opinions within the court system. So that just got pushed through. We had the town was a co-sponsor this past Friday for Homes for Our Troops. Homes for Our Troops has built Marcus Dandria, who's a sergeant and retired from the Marine Corps. He unfortunately lost both his legs in an IED blast. And what Homes for Our Troops does is they build a mortgage-free ADA adapted home for them. And when Marcus was asked, where do you want to live, they give you the choice of anywhere in the 50 states, and he chose Haymarket as his home. So we were very blessed and very proud for that. And so we were able to hold a dinner for him on last Friday and raise a great deal of money to go towards the
It's
mortgage as well as to him.
It was good.
So,
Connor
yeah.
did a good job. Connor and his mom put the whole thing together, so it was good.
Yeah, it was good. And then we even had a great turnout the next day, which we did Volunteer Day, where the community came out and laid sod and landscaping on the home. And if you ever have a chance, the home is off of Lightner Road, which is just outside the town boundaries, but still within Haymarket. And it's coming along quite nicely. I think it's about 90% done. And so there's going to actually be the key ceremony on July 9th. So mark that in calendars if you're free that day. They're going to turn the keys over to him and do a ribbon cutting ceremony on the 9th, which will be awesome. And it's really breathtaking and very emotional. I like to think that I'm not an emotional person, but when you get there and in that moment, it really takes your breath away about someone who's given their life for us and everything.
We'll talk about the other
Curry.
veteran that came
Yes.
on Friday and spoke.
Mr. Curry had a home built over in Nokesville, and he came out and was kind enough. Mr. Marcus wasn't able to make it for the dinner, but Mr. Curry was, and he was just raving about Homes for Our Troops and how dinners like the one that we at the town was able to sponsor and put on, just it really takes the weight off their chest, because not having to go up and down stairs anymore and being able to use an elevator or one level home is just we take so much for granted. So it was really awesome. I appreciate the town's support, Washington Street Realty, and then Rise Up Prince William. We all sponsored it and went in together, and it was a great night. We also second ice rink for Iceplex. That's coming along nicely, if I'm not mistaken. Chick-fil-A is wheeling and dealing over there. They'll be opening soon. And Sheets, are we waiting on the final site plan for Sheets?
Plans you see in the back just came in today.
Beautiful. So final site plan.
No rest
came
for
in
the
Sheets.
weary. No day off for you, Marshawn.
What is Sheets doing?
Redoing.
They're redoing, so they're going to
We drop that building down and put up another one. So.
yeah,
That's great.
they're going to build a new convenience store behind it, tear down the existing one, and then they're going to have to unfortunately close for a couple months, I believe, and while they take out the old tanks and the old towers and then put in a whole new stream of pumps.
That will look really nice.
Yeah.
Would it be a
That's the
miserable?
one thing that looks a little bit.
It's going to be a miserable 2 months for convenience factors.
I was reading through some old history of the town, and at the time that Sheets was built, it was considered modern architecture.
Right?
Um,
And then
Sure.
90s,
Now
right?
it's a little
Yeah.
tired looking, but
Yeah,
it's modern at the time.
that's great.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
Marshawn has to do the final plans.
Yeah, it has to go through the
When are they going
finals.
to, Sheets projecting to start?
That dates always just seems to shift. I think once the final site plan's approved, they tend to move forward quickly. Apparently, two of the things that were happening was the design of the interchange was holding them up, and there was a gas line easement they were trying to resolve. But unfortunately, it's been kind of fits and starts. New Sheets went up just over by
Wellington.
Merrifield. So
I saw
I'm like,
that the
okay,
other
well,
day.
that can go up. That was approved, vetted, approved, design, and up. At the same time, it's taken to go over here. So hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later.
Be nice. Okay.
Any questions for Connor?
I don't want to take up anybody's time, but I also heard there's going to be a hotel too. Is that right?
So there's a proposal. It's called the Fairgrounds property. So the Fairgrounds property is a big vacant piece of land behind Fauquier Bank, behind Giuseppe's.
Okay.
It's about 22 acres. They have put in an application to build a Lidl, a grocer, next to to the Chick-fil-A is going. And then behind Chick-fil-A and Fauquier Bank, the property wraps around. And on that corner next to the interchange, they want to do a 150-room hotel.
Conference.
How does everybody feel about that?
Traffic-wise, it would be tough to do. You already see what's happening with traffic.
I think by the time that site plan comes through and gets started, I believe VDOT should be in the process of redoing the 55 and 15 interchange. Because remember, we're not just doing the bridge, we're also doing that interchange, which then affects the in-town, with the striping and everything, because we're not just going to have, right now, the big issue is that you have a one-way and a right-hand turn, which use the same lane, and if you have 4 or 5 cars wanting to go cross towards Walmart, crossing 15, at that point, unfortunately, it backs everything all the way up. So I know everyone's saying, hey, traffic, but it's going to be an issue until all that traffic gets completed, but once that traffic and that interchange and the restriping and the widening there, I think it's going to move a lot smoother than what we're all thinking.
There are definitely going to be growing pains.
I have a question. I'm so sorry.
I was going to say, with the hospital here, it is a needed thing because, the families have people in the hospital and no place to stay. Obviously, people who come and stay in a hotel, eat in the restaurants, patronize the shops. So it is it's a benefit. Yeah.
Big thing is it being set back in the corner along 66. I don't think, I would not be for it if it was up front, right on.
Any other location in town would have been probably problematic.
Yeah, but being set back in the corner.
They don't have what they call a flag yet. Their focus is going to be the Lidl. There's also some commercial development between where that would be and where Giuseppe's is along the Washington Street frontage. They've also asked to do 75 townhouse units in the back. They'll be tucked in the back. I think the priority would be the Lidl store and the residential, and then the commercial, and then if they get a appropriate hotel developer come in. There's some concern about do we have an extended stay or kind of a lower end sort of facility. And the response I got from the owner was that no, they would want a higher end.
It's going to be a conference center as well.
Correct, with some ability to do that as well. So, and they'll have pedestrian connections to bring everybody in town, which will be helpful.
Well, plus the hotel that's here,
Hampton Inn?
both of them, the Hampton Inn and the Value Place, is that what it's called? Is at capacity almost every day. Like there is no hotel space around here.
The Architecture Review Board will have a purview over that, and we'll certainly want it to be compatible. It's going to be fairly high. They want to do almost 7 stories, so
No.
5 stories. No, 5 stories. I'm sorry, 5 stories. So we'll have to deal
We'll
with
have to
that.
review
Mitigate
that.
that.
Yeah.
But okay. Feel free to ask questions about that. We can. I give it the tour of Haymarket. We can drive around. We can take you to the underbelly. We have an underbelly in Haymarket, industrial district. So
I would appreciate that. Thank
all the
you.
names. So.
Marchant knows all the premises.
How about the shops of Lee Berry?
The fence.
Did you get any reaction to our response?
We got a reaction. I'm going to
sure
let
you
the
did.
dust settle a little bit, and then I'll follow up with Karen again. We'll get it resolved. So.
Okay. We're not really asking for much. All we want is that fence that they have brought up forward and the other piece removed, just so that it's consistent along the street side.
The big thing there was style, shape, color, height, shape. Because I think that
And condition of the
condition, yeah.
original
Those are the
fence.
Big 4 things there.
Okay, so that's still on the,
It's still on the table?
Correct. I'll
Okay.
follow up with her about it.
okay. Can we, what's next? Are we going to are we doing old business? No, not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
New business was the item that you wanted to.
Yeah, I got
Is that new business or is it old business?
That would be new business.
Okay.
Stan Smith?
Yes, but you can do it, Connor. Go for it.
No, it's you. I just want to make sure. I was just seeing if I could read your mind. That's all it was.
You can.
No, you.
When we get to that point, though, is everybody done with questions? Connor, we said yes, so we'll move
Yes.
on to new business.
Okay.
Here we go. Now that we mentioned the agenda item, we can mark it on the tape. New
Okay.
business.
So the property across the street, the deal fell through again. And since the blight ordinance has been adopted, I couldn't think of the word. Since it's been adopted, we would like for these property owners to start bringing up their properties to good conditions on their own. So Mr. Smith, who owns the property, he does not live here, he lives in Florida, and he was questioning before he put a proposal into us which buildings did the ARB want to see stay over there? He wants to make sure that he's keeping the buildings that we see have historic significance, and the other ones, he might put in an application to demolish. So I know we had discussed this before.
So if you can picture in your head, this is the block right next to where he lives. So it's basically the corner of Payne Lane, Jefferson, Fayette Street, and Washington Street. And there's 7 buildings on the site. The one building that's identified by the comp plan as a designated historic resource is the Gosson House, or what we call the Butler House, which is on the corner of Payne Lane and Jefferson. Has the black hip roof and the wraparound porch. As part of the comp plan update, we had sat down with some of the ARB members and identified additional houses on the property or structures that would be worthy of looking at trying to reuse. And that would be, also call it the Gosson House on the corner, which is the White House on the corner. And then looking at people switch between the Colonel's and the General's house. So basically the gray house that's boarded up and has the fence around it. That would leave the other interior structures. This we call it the Stone House along Payne Lane, whose roof has come in. The Yellow House, where Gossam Paving is now operating out of. Fred's Garage. The small, I wouldn't call it a shack, but where the accountant is. And then the interior sheds that are behind it. When the developer first came in, it had a plan which basically was a scorched earth, was taking everything down. And at the time, the focus was on the Butler House in the back corner. So when we had discussed informally again what would be the priority of work, and I've shared this with others, would be first phase would be Stone House. If there's barriers to develop the property, given the number of structures, what would be an acceptable kind of priority of work? And the last time we discussed was bringing the Stone House down. Now let's back up a second. File a demolition permit, document it, go through all the other things that you require by your ordinance. But if there's going to be a concession over what stays and goes, it would be the Stone House, Fred's Garage, the sheds in between the two, then the shack, and then the yellow building. The challenge with the yellow building and the shack is we have tenants in there right now.
Right.
The next focus would be looking at how to reuse the Gossam House on the corner, the Butler House in the back, and then the Colonel's house and the General's house.
Right.
If you were to look at those 3 remaining, it seemed to be the focus would be the Butler House, the Gossam House, and then the
Colonel's
house. So what we'd also talked about before is trying to incentivize people, saying, okay, if you're going to redevelop the site as a condominium space, why not carve out a piece for each of those houses, give it to someone for free, and say, within 18 months you need to bring this building up to code, make it a reusable structure, and then any sale you make through a condo space is all profit for you. And we had offered that as an incentive to some of the developers. Waive the site plan requirement. So if today if someone wanted to use the Butler House, waive the site plan requirement, they'd only have to do wheel stops to do their parking, but to try to do those types of things. So that would probably be part of any strategy you would come up with a property is say, here's a priority of work, here's the focus that should be on, and we're willing to work on incentives to repurpose those buildings that would be considered for repurposing.
Right.
That was a long diatribe, but hopefully it made sense. So I think what I've tried to say to the ARB is practical. I think the ARB sees that all buildings on that are not practical. And so you're agreeable to coming up with a plan. But
I think that the ones that you mentioned are so worth saving. I mean, they're the one that has the fence around it. Like, it's so beautiful, and it's so sad that it's falling apart. Like, my parents have even said, like, is that house for sale? Like, we want to fix it up. Like, they love it.
well, that where it goes back to, yes, trying to come up with a building
just give
owner.
it to us, please.
Trying to do with people that have wanted to redevelop the property, saying, can they still meet their pro forma? In other words, can they get the amount of square footage and parking that they need to make it a go and
And
still
leave that.
accommodate someone trying to repurpose that? If Stan Smith is willing to look at that, saying, are you willing to give these away and either create a condo or a lease line or something else, but have the outcome be, you would want to have a defined period of time that someone does something with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
That Colonel's house, General's house, if you take the porches off of it, if you take all that off, the inside is actually not too bad. I mean,
Really?
yeah.
That's good to know.
The bones are good. Unfortunately, the roof's starting to pull back, so the eaves are starting to get under. But the last time the building inspector looked at it, it was the porch that was actually protecting, even as dilapidated as it is, it's protecting a lot of.
Okay.
So if that's kind of the priority work, I think that the mayor and others were looking for kind of that direction of the ARB. The premises ordinance, basically,
Yes.
the building inspector has to go in and basically delineate what needs to be condemned, what needs to be raised, what just needs to be secured. And so I think any approach would be having him go and do an inventory of everything that's there, reaffirm those buildings that we say are probably not worth reusing, and then giving us a sense of the viability of the others and what might need to happen, and then go back to Stan Smith with that kind of assessment as well.
Okay.
So,
Does anybody have any comments on that? Like, you're still good with that priority?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's definitely a good direction.
I think you have, just from this discussion, you have an understanding of how the ARB looks at it as well. I know there were other things that were mentioned outside of ARB power, more towards council, but, if they need to work with that empty plot of land between the museum, if that's offerable or stuff like that, I don't know if you've talked to the council about that.
no, the suggestion is that, let's say, for instance, to keep the Gossam House on the corner, to have someone repurpose it. If they can't get the amount of square footage they need between the Gossam House and the property line next to Fred's Garage, would the council be willing to look at maybe doing a land swap, where we give them maybe 5 or 10 feet, not the entire park, there's a park there next to the museum.
Right.
But maybe doing a land swap or doing some other arrangement that allows them to shift into that in exchange for giving the house away. Because there's another issue, too, of giving a turn lane.
Right.
So right now we have the center turn lanes on Washington. We're wanting to do the same thing on Jefferson. That would take about 5 more feet from the Payne Lane property. So the idea was shifting, would they do a land swap to shift it? So I think everything's on the table.
As long as someone comes with a good plan, I think the council's willing to entertain anything, because that doesn't look good. And I think anything we can get them to mitigate what's going on over there now would be advantageous for Mr. Smith to sell his property as well.
Yeah, well, I definitely think the first thing we need to do is get the building inspector over there and determine which houses are condemned to get Mr. Smith immediately on board of putting in a COA for destruction of those buildings, the ones we agree upon.
Okay.
As you know, that would be the one off of Payne Lane, the stone building, and probably Fred's Garage. I don't know how far that wall is leaning yet, but it's starting to lean.
Key to that one is, because Eddie still uses it, the building inspector will have to determine if it's still viable. If he says it's still viable and Eddie still wants to use it, then he has to paint the doors. Basically, those
Right.
buildings that are to stay, while we figure out this other solution, they need to be secure.
Brought up to
Yeah.
acceptable standards.
Acceptable standard.
Yeah.
So, yes. Prior work for demolition, those that are to stay would have to have a priority of work to stabilize the properties and
Yeah.
keep them from continuing to deteriorate.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like you said, with the General Colonel House, probably tear the porch off and shutter it so that it's environmentally protected.
Correct.
I don't know if you should rip the porch off until the last minute, because the porch is
Well, it
Protect
also
protecting the
depends
rest
on-
of it.
Well, through inspection, you'll determine whether the
Understood.
porch is allowing the water to shed into the building or outside, or if it's still shedding it outside the building, or, stuff like that.
And I think you've rightly identified the three buildings that we were interested in. If I had to, like, you put an order of like the Butler House, the Gossam House, and then the Colonel's House. I'd almost
Swap them.
I'd almost want to argue that the Gossam House in the corner has the biggest impact to the town because it's right on Washington
I
Street.
think it's the most visible, and
It is
that's
the most
why.
visible. It's not in the best shape. I know the Butler House is in the best shape, but as far as our community is concerned,
True.
I find that one to be quite important.
But in my opinion, the Butler House is architecturally
Oh, it
is so much more pleasing to the eye, just design-wise. But then I don't really know until we start to take off
we
all
don't
the
have to be
additions
making,
that,
choosing. Hopefully, we don't have to choose between the three of them. So
yeah.
They still have to go through a formal permit process. You'll still see the demolition permits for those structures, and again, we would want documentation of it, so. But
Okay. So, does everybody feel comfortable with tasking Marshawn to carry out our wishes?
Yes.
So this is an informal recommendation.
Sharing of information.
For priority of work for the property owner in conjunction with enforcement of we call it the condition of premises or the blight ordinance, and work with the building inspector as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I'll send you a picture when it's cleaned up.
Only one caveat to that is you have someone that just repurposed an old house.
Yeah.
And we have someone else that's moved one, so if they say it can't be done, we can
We
point
have-
to two examples that says it can be done.
Yeah.
Watch that show, Fixer Upper. Take
Exactly.
Some of those are amazing.
It's crazy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Okay. Any more new business? Okay, we'll move on to old business. Got my task sheet. Of course, the only active thing on it at this point, everything else is on hold. The only active task is the welcome signage. Of course, that's been kind of on hold until the sign ordinance finally got approved. Now that it's been approved, I guess we need to read it, understand it, and then at this point, we can come up with a design
Right.
for what we're going to throw in.
I'm sorry, I was being paged by my better half. What was that? Did I need to respond to that, or no?
The entryway signs, the gateway signs.
Yes.
So, yeah. So now that the ordinance has been passed and put into effect, we can probably work on those.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the hollowed ground, are we going to incorporate that with the signage for, like, the starting points coming into town?
I wasn't thinking of doing it for the immediate signs that we were looking for, which were kind of like the additions to the Haymarket corporate limit signs.
Yeah, okay.
But I would definitely like to try and incorporate something on the 15 corridor. And I haven't taken that any further. I haven't really gone up to their site and saw what type of, I guess, icons or anything that they have up there, or even address them to say, hey, have you come up with anything?
I think Sean, that Sean, everybody's name is Sean lately that we
Right
deal with.
now it is.
I think he's more than willing to help us, get us connected with the people that have done their signs and see, if we want to play off of that or.
Yeah. And of course, that sign probably won't even come into play for another year and a half to 2 years.
Until the interchange.
Until the interchange construction's completed, so.
So what do we want to do now? We want to do this one over here?
Definitely the Jefferson Street, both
On
sides.
both sides, and then,
I don't think we've really come up with a true consensus on what to do on the west side of town, or the east side of town.
because of the QBE building and how everything sits, or?
That, and it's more of a residential setting as opposed to any type of commercial setting. So, you want to have something that's quaint and, but
Not
yet,
too intrusive,
yeah,
but.
but still visible. Because an example, at least, that I'd like, I love the speed limit signs that we have, but they're too small. People don't see them, so
No.
they're not going to abide by them. So
I think it's funny that you say that. You should send the council an email.
I love it, but, we.
I was the
we
only
gotta
one
play.
who said they were too small, and everyone's like, oh, no, you're wrong.
But the thing is, you
But that's
still got to
true.
play with, you can't have this huge bulky thing blocking the buildings that we want to try and promote. So, it's a teeter-totter, right?
Are
Trying
you
to find
talking about the radar signs that blink?
Yeah.
I definitely agree they are too small. But with that being said, I have spoken with our officers, and they do say that it has
It helped,
helped.
yeah.
But I agree, it is
But
very
if
hard
you
to
ever
see.
have time, drive into Old Town Manassas and look at their speed limit signs. I mean, they look fine, and they're a little bit bigger. Anyhow, don't get me started. I just thought it was funny that you said
I
that.
believe you do have money in the CIP to
Yes.
move forward with,
With our signs.
and you have the combination, I guess we call them wayfinding signs, two wayfinding signs.
Are you talking about the white sign in front of the museum?
No, at the entrance, we're talking about signs where you come into town that are going to say, welcome to the town of Haymarket. As you come over the railroad tracks on Old Carolina, as you come this way,
okay.
over the bridge, and then as you come in from the east end or 29 over this
Okay.
way. We'll do a big one here at the intersection, but with the interchange happening, probably, you should wait
But
till
you
that's.
bring up a good point, though. So the sign that's there in front of the museum was actually one of 5 signs that demarcated the entrances to the town, the police department, also I believe town hall.
Right.
The one above the entrance here matches that. The ones on our periphery were, I think, absconded with, hit by cars, or had some other colorful demise. So the only one that's left is the one that's there. But that would be the idea, is create wayfinding where a similar standard on all your entrances match the museum, match town hall, match the police department. It would all be a
It would be a
kind of
town
branding.
sign package.
It'd be like a branding of this, similar to what we use here.
Okay.
Try to create that uniform standard.
We had sign examples, but what,
Yes.
6 months, 8 months ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was some
Ken
neat-
put it together.
There were some good medium-sized signs, I thought, so that was a good starting point.
Yeah, like, you know how you have the green signs that say Haymarket corporate limits? That are on all of our borders. It's even down on 66, or it was
Yes.
before construction.
Yeah.
I was thinking of having the standard white 25-mile-an-hour style sign on top of it that had our icon on it, like our seal on it, with just underneath it, welcome, or something of that sort.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Marshall.
Yeah, what we need to, I guess, do now that we're to a point where we can give a go is say, if something like that is appropriate, we can task Denise over there to throw it out to sign makers, see what kind of prices we get for.
And I know there had been some talk, and I don't even know who said it before, but to put some kind of maybe a stone base underneath it. Was that you, Nicole? I know someone said it at some point. To,
That's nice, but if you do
But I was
piggyback
thinking
them
about
on the
more for
corporate limit signs,
you can't probably do
you
that.
probably can't do that
But I
because
was
you gotta
thinking about
get,
that for more of
you
the
gotta
one
get
with the
permits.
interchange. The
Yeah.
interchange should have more of the stone
Yeah,
structural with our
we'll have,
seal.
we'll have a huge one for the interchange, yeah. I mean, that'll probably be a solid
there-
stone structure of some sort.
Denise, are there probably,
Because we gotta get permits from VDOT.
I was just going to
Yes.
say, are there probably
Right-of-way
things from VDOT that, guidelines that we have to stay within? The size of the sign and how they're put in the ground, probably, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So maybe we can work on that next month? If anybody has any ideas, just
Yeah.
jot them down and,
Yeah, so yeah, Denise, I guess if you could get, I guess, the procedures for putting in a right-of-way, I guess, application to VDOT and what their code requirements are, that'll start us off.
yeah, I think that's good.
Denise, did I email you and Jen the signs, the stone signs, I think a few months back?
I might have them, I think. I'll look and see in my email.
Because I think I had sent some, but I didn't send it to the whole board. But I'll go back through my emails and see if I find them. If you don't
Okay.
have them. But I did have
Resend.
just some ideas that I'd seen going to like Pennsylvania when I drive, because usually take 15 and go up that whole hollow ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've seen some.
Well, if you take 15 into Leesburg,
The
there's a
Leesburg
nice,
one sign that
it
they
sits
got
about, I don't know, probably about 4 feet high at the most, and it just kind of says, Leesburg
And
flowers, nice landscaping around it. It's very pretty. That's the kind of thing that I'd be looking for out on 15.
absolutely. And then there was another that had like
Yeah.
just a stone structure with, it was kind of, I don't know how you would call the wood. It was just an old kind of looking wood, but it had like a structure and it had like a big, their symbol or their seal, their town seal on it. That was another one that I had like just put out there because we didn't really know how the interchange was going to be.
Yeah.
So that's why I threw out like just different styles with stone, but giving it more of like a historical kind of like feel to it. I thought that would look nice coming into town and seeing that, even coming from like 15 this way or 15 that way.
Right. Okay. Maybe we can get those done, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've been kind of sitting on that for 2 years now.
Yeah.
If you look at the task list.
Well, it's a
just
good
chunk,
thing
chunk,
we
chunk,
didn't
chunk,
do
chunk,
them
chunk,
because
chunk,
then
chunk.
Sean moved the property, the town, that's all in the town limits now, so we would have had to move it again. So, yeah, that QBE building where they moved the house to the old school, that used to be half in Prince William County and half in and part in the town. So now it's all in the town. They
Okay.
So is the site of our potential sign, would be on the corner of the QEB property? Right?
Pretty much,
At the
yeah.
very corner of Haymarket
Yeah,
then? Right at-
kind of in the general area of the sign that the Boy Scouts put up.
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
The one house that's on the corner, I think it's outside of Haymarket. It looks like it's empty. It's,
on the corner of Cat Harpin.
yes. Are they gonna tear that down?
It's for
That's
sale
a
right
beautiful
now.
house.
The Cartucci's on that.
Beautiful house. I would have loved to
If
have
I'm not
gotten that.
mistaken.
That would have been a nice bed and breakfast.
It's stunning. That'll be really sad if, because it says it's for retail, the land, is that right?
He owns that.
And all the
And all the property on the other side of 55 as well. So,
I think you're not the only person that have heartburn over that, because that would be an incredible, like, 5-star
Something.
restaurant or something.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do something really nice there, and they're just letting it go to pot. It's kind
It
of
was in
sad.
such good condition when I first moved here.
Of
That was
course.
20 years ago.
That's
But
what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yes, that's a missed opportunity for sure.
okay, well, that's all of old business. Last agenda item. Who's going to be quick? Quick.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Oh, I got a motion and a second. Vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is closed at 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right.
Everyone, I want to say thank you so much.
Well, thanks for participating.
Thank you.